on the 6th. And during that discussion, he raised his hand, and then I gave him the opportunity, and he made a remark, which is not something that he does frequently, or regularly rather. And he made a comment. And my reading of his mind was that he was supporting me on this. More than any other thing that I could have registered at that time.
Let's, for a brief moment, assume that that your version, Minister, is absolutely correct, that your intention and your motive to disband the PKTT was pure and makes sense and was sound. Why would the National Commissioner and General Mkhwanazi go as far as they are going currently? Why would there be a press conference? Why would they say that the motive is this correlation between the PKTT and organized crime and Nhlanhla and all of that? If we assume that your version is the gospel truth, what would you think is their motive, their rationale for doing this?
I've tried to think hard about this. Why are they making a correlation about this? What is it that is concretely on the table? But I can't avoid looking at what they are saying exactly as a starting point. They are saying, as an allegation, in disbanding or in writing that directive of disbandment, I wanted to protect crime syndicates. Now, before that, 2 weeks ago, I'm thinking, and I started thinking immediately after I heard that, I wanted a list of drug syndicates or any other crime syndicate in the country, but I was more on drugs and firearms because I regarded that as very troubling. So I get the list per province. We're discussing, it's a confidential meeting, and a document is handed over to me. I ask questions, even asking where possibly these drugs come from, what is the composition of each of these drugs, where do primary and secondary components come from, and how. We discuss those matters in confidence. What routes for those that come from outside, and who? And what do we have inside the country? So we're serious, we're discussing. Now, one, you note, there was no big five there, which means that the list was not exhaustive. That is the least I could say. Now, if I made this inquiry, and then after that, I settled with the directive to disband, why do people, or why does anyone, for that matter, come back to say, I am protecting crime syndicates? And how? And who is this? Because from where I sit, I didn't know that Mkhwanazi has a link with anyone when I wrote this. I had, even with Nhlanhla, I had no idea because it had never been brought to me. So I sit and I write that. So when all of a sudden, I'm said to be doing this to protect syndicates. Now, it can't be true. Secondly, these matters were investigated by Gauteng, organized crime, And they moved and moved and they arrested. They arrested people, even if others got arrested afterwards. So if you wanted to protect anyone, why would you go for people who are assisting and not deal with people who are being assisted, who are leading the charges, opposing bail and do all sorts of things? Why would you do that? It's awkward. The correlation, there's no logic. You can only do that if you start with the narrative and then you tell the story that fits the narrative. I have nothing to do with any kind of syndicate, whether in firearms, whether in drugs, anywhere. All I know is that they need to be dealt with. That is why, among other things, we say create a division that is dedicated to harder criminals in the form of the operations and so on. So that was the design, not what I get told now. I have no links with any syndicate.
I understand that, Minister, but why do you think they want to discredit you? What do you think their motive is?
Well, you, as I say, you look at what is being said. When you do that, and there's a person who says there will be fight back, the composition of which or the content of which I didn't have, I can't help but bring that as a factor. Is this it or is it not it? Especially when it comes as personalized. It comes as more spearheaded by, because honestly, despite what National Commissioner said, the trend, the developments showed that we were working together on the winding down, as he was suggesting. In other words, we were moving together. There was no indication whatsoever. Now, all of a sudden, there's a change. Now, I can't help it that, oh, okay, there is discussion. Because part of the conversation, as I heard it, was that if I were National Commissioner, I wouldn't agree. I wouldn't have agreed. It even causing me to think, what is personal in the National Political Killings Task Team to a point where you can actually take a personal kind of stance on it and even say, well, the other thing on crime intelligence and on border management were fine. It can go ahead, but this one, what is it that would cause someone to say so and to think that particular way? But on my side, I don't have anything that I know that would cause people to behave in that particular fashion, to be honest. And I don't have anything. And I have no syndicate grazing close to me and me grazing close to them whatsoever. And there's no evidence up to today that have anything to do with any syndicate, if they are, on any crime, whether it's drugs or any. There isn't, because I don't have any relations with any crime groupings and so on. I've never heard. I can't suddenly develop that now.
Let's accept that version, and once again, that your motives was well informed to give the direction to disband the PKTT. In hindsight, Minister, is there any possibility that you were being used to hamper or to protect these crime syndicates? In hindsight, can there be any possibility that people used you to disband the PKTT to protect organized crime?
And what is the exact question?
Question is there such a possibility if you now look back?
Any possibility of people saying so?
of people that used you at that stage.
That in
you
fact,
thought you acted good. You thought you acted well informed. But actually people were using you like a pawn.
oh, I see that the possibility of any grouping using me.
Yes, correct. To protect
the-
organized crime.
There is absolutely none that can claim that with any evidence. Once a statement, if a statement gets made somewhere, just like statements have been made that I was acting to protect, I can't prevent a statement from being made, but there is no evidence. And in fact, the reason why there's no evidence is because I didn't act on behalf of any criminal syndicate.
But
Was-
unknowingly, maybe you didn't know it.
And how? If you could make an example.
If someone played you, fed you with information for you to act in a certain way, drove you to the 31st of December decision.
I derive a lot of confidence that Gauteng organized crime were the ones that initiated investigations against these syndicates, if you call them syndicates, or criminals. They were doing that. Okay, that's one. Two, they moved on very well with their investigations and their arrest. And there is nothing until 10 people come in to assist them. And for some other reason or reasons, there is a directive. Now, if there was that intention and anybody could then want to say we're using him, why didn't they use me if there was that possibility before the directive? Why couldn't they say, hey, there's this development and let's use minister to stop whatever was happening with those that were being arrested, were being pursued and so on? It can't be. And so I'm using those facts to respond to you. But I also use the fact that I know that there may be people who may have been claiming that they would want or wish. Part of that is when I was looking at the WhatsApps, if that were in the Nhlanhla Commission,
Yes.
where somebody would send a message as if there is something that has been discussed or can be discussed with you. For instance, after the cancellation of the tender, which I initiated, then somebody creates an impression that it's possible to come and talk to me about something about cancellation of the tender, about possibility of change. There was nothing such. There was no such. There would be no one who would have come to me about that. And how possible would it be? You initiate cancellation of the tender, and then somebody comes from somewhere and tells you something different. So I would find it hard that somebody could possibly be wanting or laboring under that impression that they could use me when I'm not one of them and I'm not involved in them. And I don't go anywhere where such people are if there is a talk like that.
That you know of, Minister, because you've said today that you didn't know of, for instance, Brown Mkhwanazi's association with Kat Nhlanhla. But let's leave that there for now and let's go to the WhatsApp messages.
Yeah, I do want to respond and say, if that was Mkhwanazi's personal agenda or together with other people.
But exactly, that's my point. That's exactly my point.
If that was the agenda, I would say it never came to light before the letter of the directives. Never, because it was never discussed with me.
I understand
It
that.
must have been something they were nursing, if there was such.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think you must think about that.
Okay.
If you weren't maybe being used exactly because of that. But let's go to the WhatsApp messages that you refer to now, and it's I think it's open in front of you there. It's in
Yes.
bundle 3 on page 80. If you go to that message that flows over to page 81. It was shown this morning on the screen as well, but you'll see that there's a response by you, and it's the message of the 26th of January that Mkhwanazi sent you, and it's the long message, and the end of the message, the last paragraph, reads, and you can see it there, also meeting with the DNC and COS, which I assume is the Chief of Staff, Cosman, today in Durban for finalization of the Khumalo and the General Mkhwanazi matters. DNC is waiting for the COS here. This is very significant. Then you reply, Minister, by saying, don't unnecessarily. Don't unnecessarily. What does that mean?
Now, don't necessarily what?
No, that's what you wrote. I don't know. Look at the message, Minister. At the messages. Mkhwanazi sends you a
Okay.
message, you reply to the message. And your reply is, don't unnecessarily.
Now, I said Mkhwanazi would sometimes send you messages that you wouldn't understand.
And then you wouldn't reply. That's what you said.
And then?
Then you didn't reply. You previously said during your testimony
Yes,
that he sent you
generally
messages you
I
didn't
wouldn't
understand,
reply.
you wouldn't reply. But you
Generally,
did
I wouldn't
reply.
reply. But in some cases, I would have replied. That reply, I must have been wanting to say, don't necessarily send me all these things that are necessary, that I don't understand. But I didn't complete that for some reason. But I must have meant that because when I received it, I just couldn't make sense out of it myself at that time.
Minister, with due respect, it's very hard to believe that because we spoke a lot about tone last Friday, I think, or Thursday. Your tone during these, your testimony, you use a lot, you use the words necessary or unnecessary a lot. It's your type, it's how you speak, it's your tone. If you read that message, also meeting with the Deputy National Commissioner and the Chief of Staff today in Durban to finalize the Khumalo and the General Mkhwanazi matters. And your reply is, don't unnecessarily. That seems like an answer to that message.
No, no, I didn't understand what he was talking about. I meant to say probably, don't necessarily don't send me unnecessary message or something to that effect, because I didn't see what the purpose of that message and all these things that he was sending. I had no correlation of what they meant. And as a matter of fact, there was no such meeting. There were no such meetings. No such meetings ever took place. And therefore, had no particular meaning of what he was trying to convey. And I meant to say, all of this is not necessary. In other words, I don't even understand what it means and what it is sent for.
Minister, it seems very strange, but it's also very concerning. Especially if one then, and it's hard not to connect the dots now. If one takes the message from Brown Mkhwanazi on the 1st of January took at Nhlanhla, and you connect it to these messages, then it seems to form a picture. And usually the easiest answer is the correct answer. Life is not complicated. It's usually very simple. Yeah, let me leave it there. Let me ask one last question. Throughout all of this, and if one listens to the testimony by the National Commissioner, it's very clear that there's an irretrievable breakdown in your relationship with the National Commissioner. Although you said that you had a good relationship, it's very clear that currently you do not. Now, at this point in time. And if you were to be the Minister of Police again, if you are reinstated, how will you be able to work with the National Commissioner again?
How will I work with the National Commissioner?
After all of this?
What has happened right from the beginning when we started working, I expressed confidence to the National Commissioner, and we worked well. I learn now that while he was on one hand working in the manner that he did up to the 27th on the disbandment, National Commissioner may not have been genuinely committed. And in my view, he just needed to come forward and say, Minister, you wrote a directive. I have matters to discuss with you. Or he would have written a letter pouring out his own views or his own feelings. Now, without him writing back to me separately just on this, and or engaging me on this, except through the process that I had indicated, I had no other way of knowing, getting to know that there were issues. Absolutely no other way. I was left with no option but to assume that we were together. Now, what do you do now that you know? It means that now that we know how that behavior, or that behavior is there needs to be a way of saying there should be one way of working. Don't turn right or don't indicate right and then turn left, because it doesn't help anyone to do so. If you indicate right, turn right. If you indicate left, I would do the same, so that we are able to proceed with the work that we are supposed to do. That is my thinking at the moment about, that's my response to you on the matter.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Vessels. Honorable Minister, you know, South Africans can be very amazing. You know, today in social media there is a montage which is circulating. The montage is made of 4 pictures. The one picture is the picture of me, which was taken today wearing the shirt that I'm wearing. And there is another picture of General Sibiya wearing a similar shirt. And then there is another South African I could not identify. The shirt he's wearing is similar to mine and Sibiya's. So the last picture is yours, wearing gold and black shirt, but not a similar pattern with the 3 of us. So one of them said, Chairperson, can you check with the minister what his comment is about this about this 4 shares? I know you might have not seen the picture, but you will meet it in social media. Honorable members, I want to thank you so much. Senior Counsel, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for answering the questions to the best of your ability. At some point during the proceedings, we had to release Honorable Breitenbach due to other commitments. And Honorable Mwango and Honorable Vessels will not be able to join us tomorrow. Honorable Mwango has a committee of parliament which he must chair tomorrow. And we must congratulate Honorable Vessels in advance. He came to whisper to me that he will not be here tomorrow because they are expecting a new bundle of joy. So I said to him that I'm thanking him so much for his positive contribution to population growth in the country. We are coming back here tomorrow. The proceedings start at 11 o'clock. So yes, honorable members, if you may please listen. Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Ntuli, Honorable Shongwe, Honorable Cameron, Honorable Sols are the speakers who will take the platform tomorrow. So,
Honorable James.
Honorable James, yes. So it's going to be a session spanning 6 hours. Yes, it's 1 hour per speaker. We are starting at 11, breaking at 1, and then coming back from 1, run and take 2 speakers, coming back at 2, run to 4, and then 4 to 6. Honorable Sambo.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. Just clarity. You said spanning 6 hours.
Spanning
6 hours. Each speaker gets an hour, and not all speakers are full members tomorrow. Not all speakers tomorrow are full members. Others are alternates.
Yeah, you are right. We will accordingly readjust. Look, it has been a long day, honorable members. I counted the number of speakers and forgot that there are some speakers who are alternates. But thank you very much for the reminder. I think it's something that is very understandable. So we will accordingly adjust it. Thank you so much.
Shongo was a very happy beneficiary of that arrangement of the chair.
Fortunately, there is one announcement which you are unable to make. Thank you so much.
who's made aware of an audio recording between myself and someone I had spoken to. I do confirm that the telephone conversation is true, but unbeknown to me, it was being recorded. In that recording, the person had asked me a direct question, which was not asked in the portfolio committee meeting, on whether I know Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi, to which I responded that he was just a comrade from Northwest and not my close associate. Further stating in isiZulu, and the translation loosely is, I do not smoke tobacco with him, emphasizing that he was not a close associate of mine. And then he said the recording is available on TikTok. I think there was an attempt to make it available, but he couldn't get the audio. And then at paragraph 15 on page 554, you thereafter issued a statement on the 9th of July titled Statement in Response to Allegations Regarding the Minister's Alleged Association with Mr. Nhlanhla and Mr. Mkhwanazi. In that statement, I mentioned that I do know and have met Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi, but further mentioned that he is just a comrade and not an associate of mine. And then at paragraph 17, you refer to the Oxford Dictionary and the difference between an associate and a comrade. You said, associate and comrade, as per the Oxford Dictionary, the word associate, which is a noun, means a partner or companion in business or at work, whilst the word comrade, which is also a noun, refers to a colleague or a fellow member of an organization. It is in this context that I denied Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi being an associate of mine. Close or otherwise, I rather stated that he is a comrade, as we are members of the same political party and have engaged on party and service delivery matters on a number of occasions. Do you want to elaborate any further, Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Evidence Leader and honorable members. As you heard, in the Portfolio Committee of the 5th of March, after all other reports, I was asked by the Chair whether I wished to make comments, and I made 4 comments. The first comment that I made says, I was approached by somebody who says there's somebody who goes around as per the clip, saying they work with me and they travel with me. And I asked to see the photo. In fact, we had a small conversation, after which I said, I wish I could see the fellow. And if he called, and then he showed me the photo. Now, I don't mention where this happened, and I don't mention who the person on the photo was, partly because with time constraints and I wasn't necessary. That was not the focus of the Portfolio Committee. So I was just relating a story, my story. So now that I'm here, I need to make it clear. The person that was on the photo was not Brown Mkhwanazi, even though I didn't say it that way in the Portfolio Committee, but it wasn't. That's why on looking at the photo, I say, I don't know this person, which is not Mkhwanazi, which is not Mkhwanazi. It's another person that I didn't know. So I say to the fellow showing me on his cell phone, I don't know this person. Because I thought they might have cloned a face of one of my staff members for one reason or the other. So I passed. That's my first comment. There is no way that that reference was a lie because it was my story. I was sharing it with the portfolio committee, leading to somewhere. What is the second comment that I make? Second comment is that I tell another story, which is the second story of somebody phoning me while I was at work somewhere about somebody who is talking to people in Witbank, saying he's my younger brother. Then I say to that person, I don't have a younger brother in that context because he perished in 2005. So deal with the fellow who is using my name to that person that was talking to me. There's a second comment that I made. And there's no way it can be a lie because I was talking about what had happened to me. And the third comment is then I make a caution to the portfolio committee to say we should be circumspect. That's the word, that's the term I used. We should be circumspect when your name is dropped here and there. It doesn't mean that it is like that. Having related those two personal stories or personal experiences. Then I make the fourth comment. Now, directly relating to what General Mkhwanazi had said about Mkhwanazi being my associate. So I say the person that General Mkhwanazi is referring to is not my associate, it's just a comrade. This is now Mkhwanazi directly. Now, so that is what I did. Now, what do I mean by, what was my personal understanding about an associate, even today? I know a number of honorable members here, others for many, many, many years. But they may not necessarily be my associates, at least the way I understand associate. They are people that I know. Like Honorable Albert Mngwangu, I knew him long ago, when we were vehemently opposed to each other in KZN. But I have never regarded him as my associate. It's just somebody I know.
Thank you.
Now, that is what I was explaining there. And there's no way I could have lied there. Because the two comments are my personal story. The third comment is a precaution, to be circumspect. And the last comment is then to deny. Now, what complicated things in my view is that when General Mkhwanazi made his statement on the 6th of July, he then tells the public something twisted. He says, Minister Mchunu said he doesn't know Brown Mkhwanazi in Parliament, which I never said. I never said. But he tells the public something twisted, saying, I said in Parliament, I don't know Mkhwanazi. When I actually said I don't know the person who was on the phone, not Mkhwanazi, and that was not Mkhwanazi. He told that to fit his narrative, if he was not making a genuine error on his part, one of the two, he can explain what he was doing, whether it was an error or he said something to the public that was calculated to suit his narrative. I never said in the portfolio committee, I don't know Mkhwanazi. I said he is not my associate. Somewhere, I think it was in here in the portfolio committee or no, in the ad hoc committee or in the Madanga Commission, he said it doesn't differentiate between knowing. He even spoke about a friend, the difference between a friend, knowing, comrade. He said something like it's similar to him. That is to him, not to me. I differentiate. That's why I use the dictionary to say, in fact, from where I sit, once you say associate, I would think of some partnership, some work relations.
I think, Minister, I think I, as evidence leader, I accept that you know him and that he is not an associate of yours, as you explained, and that he's a comrade. I think I understand the
Yes.
difference between the two.
Okay.
An associate is a bit closer in a business sense or some other sense where there's some kind of relationship. So
Yes,
that is...
I do want to conclude though and say, when I heard that there are members of this Honorable House who have taken me to the Ethics Committee and Code of Conduct, after which I was given a deadline to submit an affidavit, I did so, freely so. But, well, up to now, I haven't been called and so on. But I did make an effort to clarify this matter. And it is the first time I clarify this matter as I do in an organized fashion since Mkhwanazi made that statement.
So you're satisfied that your
I'm
response
satisfied,
has now
except
been...
the issue of the lady. That lady pretended to be worried about what was happening between me and General Mkhwanazi after the IP'd kind of conduct to him, speaking like she wanted to sort of bring about an understanding so that we could, from where she sits, reconcile, which I was fine with. I said, okay, I will brief you. So I briefed her, relaxed and so on for quite some time, 30, 40 minutes. And I didn't know that she was recording me. Now, I only learned the following day that she was actually recording me. And then when I followed up, I realized that she was on a platform that is associated or is said to be administered by somebody who is a member of MKP, that is Mkhwanazi's party. So I thought this lady must have been a sniper of sorts, thinking that I would sort of say something that she would have needed. And I just, unknowing to me that she was recording, just stuck to what we were discussing until the end. But underline the fact that in the conversation between her and myself about Brown Mkhwanazi, I do say angpeminai, not requested by her, out of volition. Explaining myself, I said, angpeminai. And this is Zulu, when you say angpeminai, you mean you are not close. It's known by everybody that in this is Zulu, when you say ayangpeminai.
So, Mr. Minister...
You are not an associate. That's what I need to explain.
Honourable Minister, can we just move a bit forward? We have a limited time. But I just want to be satisfied that you're satisfied that you said about Mkhwanazi. So for how long have you known Mkhwanazi?
Since 2017.
2017. And you know him as a comrade who's in the same political party? Only. In the period, I've never asked him whether he's married or not. I've never gone to his home. I've never gone to look at soccer or restaurant. I've never inquired about his personal life, whether he's employed or not employed, because we just occasionally talk about this and that. Thank you. So, can I just put something to you, which comes from one of the other witnesses who will testify? It is, I suppose, legally speaking, double hearsay, but this is your platform, this is an opportunity for you to respond to it. And the witness who will be called will also be questioned about it. But this witness says that he was told that you had met, that you, Mkhwanazi, and Vusi Nhlanhla had met, and that Nhlanhla was also sponsoring your son. Apparently you have, what's it called? A trust or something. Okay. So, excuse me, Mr. No. But apparently the evidence will be that you had met with Mkhwanazi and Nhlanhla? Have you ever met with them together in one room on one occasion?
Never. I've never met Nhlanhla alone. I've never met him in the company of Mkhwanazi, and possibly in any other capacity. He's not somebody that I know. He's not somebody that I've spoken to, directly or indirectly. He's not somebody that I've had anything to do with Nhlanhla. So I don't know him.
Oh, yeah. So, Minister, if I may just turn to, can I take you to Exhibit Bundle 3, EB 7. That is an extract of the WhatsApps that we sourced from the Nhlanhla Commission. These are extracts from their WhatsApp bundle. And on page 78, at the bottom, there appears to be, these are WhatsApp from Mkhwanazi. The bottom there, it seems to be a WhatsApp addressed to you. And then on page 78, this appears to be addressed to you. Minister, I'm going to get the case number and this judgment for you. Now we got something proven by the court. This is the matter now which either Sabia or the minister can charge Khumalo and apply Rule 9 of the disciplinary hearing. It took the Constitutional Court to release a man who was sentenced to life imprisonment through a forced Section 204 confession. Imagine Comrade Senzo, after 30 years of democracy, having this kind of policing. The good thing is now that there is not, these are not allegations, but a court judgment. These are apparently signal messages. Then on the following page, 80, there's a WhatsApp, Sunday the 26th, morning, Minister. I'm in Durban and can confirm that they got nothing on Phoenix Saga, and our contact says they couldn't even go to any bank. By the way, the girl is here also. Tomorrow we are signing the practice notes on the Northwest PEC matter for the SCA in PTA with Senior Counsel. The matter will be a month from tomorrow. Then it's something about a briefing. Any other? Yeah. So Minister, those appear to be addressed to you and your comment, please.
Yes. Number one, I think these two messages they were sent to me coming from Mkhwanazi, if I have some recollection of them. Now, I wouldn't have responded to both, and I think I never responded to both, simply because I didn't quite understand what he was referring to in the first one, talking about judgment and all of those. And it wasn't, or it wouldn't have been for the first time that Mkhwanazi would send to you something that you wouldn't understand unless you sat down. And so he sent that, and I looked at that, and I didn't have quite a good understanding of what he was talking about. But I didn't inquire, I didn't follow up. I took it as one of the messages that he would send to you, and you would know what they are referring to. On the second one, although you have made them disappear, first message, I do remember Well, those messages that he sent to me, I think I do have a recollection of me receiving them, but I didn't know what he was referring to in those messages either. If you could play them again, just to see message 1, 2, 3, I had no collection of what he was talking about, and I don't think I went back to him to inquire, what is it? What is this thing that you are talking about? It's the same as the message that was referred to by General Mkhwanazi of Mkhotsi, talking about me arriving in Lusikisiki, because I had not informed Mkhotsi, and I don't think there's any staff member who had informed him. And when General Mkhwanazi made mention of this, I thought that somewhere Brown Mkhotsi must have been sitting at home, looking at TV, seeing me alighting from the car, because it was played live. And he types a message to General Mkhwanazi to say, Minister is arriving, and General Mkhwanazi thinks that he is in Lusikisiki. I don't remember whatsoever Mkhotsi seeing him in Lusikisiki, and I wouldn't have known what he was there for. Okay. But TV, I mean, can be played, and we can research that to see if there was any face of it was a very serious matter, and they would have been seen somewhere by somebody that Ufunan Mkhotsi and so on. So he must have been typing this thing sitting at home somewhere, Minister is arriving, which was seen by everybody in the public. And a notice had been given the previous day that I would be in Lusikisiki, and it went to public. And so he must have been doing, because I've sort of concluded afterwards that he's quite a bit crafty in somehow.
Sorry, Minister, sorry to interrupt you. I need to just move a bit. So you confirmed that you did get this message from
if
Mkhotsi?
I recall very well,
yeah.
to the
Okay.
best of my ability,
Do you have Mkhotsi's number on your phone?
Yes, I do.
So when he messaged you, you would...
Yes, I would see that it's
see.
Mkhotsi. This message comes from
Yeah.
Mkhotsi, and
Now-
I think
now-
I do remember these ones, but I didn't
this
know
is,
what.
This is, I'm not so clued up about this, but this is apparently on Signal.
Pardon?
This is on Signal.
And WhatsApp, he would send those
Yeah.
messages.
So, what is, and for your comment, but the one message that you see at the bottom of page 78 of EB7 is a message that is sent on the 31st of December at, is that 11:18 or 18:48? Yeah, it seems to be at 11:18 that you received a message. And of course, that's the same day on which you issued the directive on the 31st of December 2024. Is that a coincidence? Is there anything that one can read into that? That you were in Signal or WhatsApp contact with Mkhotsi on the 31st of December 2024 when you issued the directive?
Where is that message on the 31st?
There isn't a message, it's just a, it just shows, well, as I can't go any further than what appears from the WhatsApp.
Where is it?
So maybe my question is this, and you can, if you can also confirm it, that on the 31st of December 2024,
I don't
you received
remember. I don't remember sending any message to Mkhotsi on the 31st, but unless I see it, I don't remember at all. And I think I was quite busy for the longest time. on the 31st, writing the directives. I don't think I did, but let me see the message.
All right. So, can perhaps then can we move on to Nhlanhla?
Yes, we can, on a note that I don't think I sent a message to Mkhwanazi on the 31st. I don't remember at all. I don't remember at all.
It is a...
But we can pass.
It's from him to you.
It's from him.
So it's not
from-
alleged that
to-
you
to
sent
me
him a message.
On the 31st.
Yes.
What was he saying?
I'm not sure whether it's not apparent, Minister, from the whether this is the message that appears on the following page on 79, which I've already read to you about the Constitutional Court judgment that was issued on the 20th of December. I'm not sure whether that's the same message.
Yeah, neither do I remember or have any recollection of him sending me a message on the 31st. I did see some message said to have come from him to me at Nhlanhla Commission, but I don't want to get closer to that because I just saw it on TV. But I don't remember such a message from him to me on the 31st, nor do I remember what subject we would have been speaking about. Until I get that, I can then have a better comment.
If I can just move on, Minister, to Nhlanhla and his affidavit, which is at SM 44. It's in volume 2. It's an affidavit that is deposed to by Vusimusi Nhlanhla. It's date stamped the 22nd of September of this year, 2025, and it was commissioned by an officer at CMAX on the 22nd of September 2025. So, can I start by asking, how did you obtain this affidavit from a person who is being kept at CMAX? And I think colloquially we all associate CMAX with high security and persons who are detained there because of its high risk, high security. Would I be correct more or less in that understanding? That CMAX is not just your ordinary prison like a Polsmoor or Drakenstein, it's high security. So how did you obtain this affidavit from him?
I got this affidavit from my lawyers. And they said they had a chat with Nhlanhla's lawyers at their level, in their own time, their own way. And then they gave me documents that they said they received from Nhlanhla's lawyers. How they, any other thing happened, I don't have the knowledge, but I do know that my lawyers did give me the statement a couple of days or so ago to say they have this kind of a document.
So was the sole purpose of obtaining this affidavit, or procuring an affidavit from Mr. Nhlanhla, that he denies knowing you?
On several occasions since I started preparing, I have been emphasizing to my lawyers that I don't know Nhlanhla. I repeated that and I said to them, my lawyers, I'm not fooling you. I'm not playing any game with you. I am honestly saying to you, I have never met Nhlanhla. I have never seen him in my naked eye. I have never had a talk directly or indirectly with him. And I've been repeating it over and over, and at the same time saying, I know Mkhwanazi on the other hand, and how I got to know Mkhwanazi, and how he's not my associate. And I think they then took the initiative that they took to inquire on their own, and they got this affidavit. And this affidavit, when I read it, it reflects what my understanding is, that I have never met a person. The only time I got to talk more about Nhlanhla, other than coming across the name from newspapers and social platforms, it was on the 20th of December when we started talking to General Masimula about the contract. Then that's when I started talking more about Nhlanhla. Before that, I just come across the name Nhlanhla and the stories about Tembisa and all of that. But I had never heard anything else to talk about Nhlanhla.
Minister, what prompted you, just because you raised the issue of the Tshwane health contract, what prompted you to make further inquiries about the award of that contract? Because that was done and in fact signed off by the National Commissioner. I think before you became the Minister of Police. The contract, as we know, subsequently it was cancelled after he was already paid, I think a substantial 50 million or 25 million or something like that. So the question is, so what prompted you to make those inquiries which then resulted in the contract being cancelled?
On the
Okay, before you respond, Minister, let me recognize Honorable Malema.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, Minister and colleagues. The SC is raising a very important point and is leaving it, where the Minister says, I never solicited an affidavit from Nhlanhla. My lawyers are the ones, after listening to me so many times, they went to solicit the affidavit from Nhlanhla. and I wanted the SC to ask as to, are you saying your lawyers acted without an instruction? Because lawyers act on instructions of their clients. And Minister should understand the implications of what he is saying about his lawyers, because they can be reported to LPC, that on their own volition, go to a maximum prison, obtain an affidavit. Is that without his instructions and they are his lawyers? Is that the understanding that the Minister wants to share with us?
Senior Counsel, that is sustained.
Should I refer to Honorable Malema as my junior counsel? I intended to ask about that. I'm mindful also of my 2-hour limitation, and I suppose Honorable Malema can perhaps defer that question to Honorable Minister when his turn comes. But you've heard the point,
Yes.
and
Yes.
maybe if you want to respond to Honorable Malema.
My response is, Honorable Malema is quite correct. I did express a wish that if all possible, if it were to be possible, I could wish to get an understanding, even via such a document. They say I get something of a lifestyle from, without naming what is it that I've ever received from Nhlanhla, or what word has ever gone between me and Nhlanhla, but they say he funds my lifestyle. And the strangest thing, Chair, is that I have nothing that I can, they just on their own connect me, and it has never happened. So the express response is that I did express a wish that if I could, I mean, if anything could be possible. So I was wishing, and they carried out that wish.
So it was on your instructions that your lawyers approached Nhlanhla in CMAX to depose to this affidavit.
Yes.
But Minister, if you don't know Nhlanhla at all, you've never met him, that's your evidence?
That's my evidence.
Yes, so why would you want to obtain an affidavit from a person who has all these allegations against him and that's imprisoned at a high security prison? Why would our Minister of Police want to be associated with a person like that?
The question or the answer to that question could be another question. Why would the minister not wish to get the word from such a person who people out there are trying so hard to associate with me when I'm not associated with him? Why would the public not be interested in getting to know what he has to say if it were all to be possible? I even want to say that I so wish that the Madanga Commission or even the ad hoc committee could call him to come here to attest or to give a testimony on his own whether he really knows me. So the question is, the response to that is another question. Why would I spare any effort at all, seeing that everybody is interested in making me get, or in connecting me, in trying to connect me with Nhlanhla, when I am in fact, not at all connected to him. So I wouldn't spare any moment, and I expressed a wish. But I was on the 20th evidence leader on the 20th of December, answering your question when we took the diversion. In the interest of time, if I may proceed.
Okay. Can I just also, for the record, Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, and Minister Mchunu, that when I earlier referenced that the National Commissioner had by then signed the Swani contract, it was in fact just signed by someone in supply chain, but the contract itself was signed in June of 2024. Now, I had already put this to you, but again, just for the record, I'd indicated that a witness will be called to say that Nhlanhla had a business relationship with you to support your campaign to become the ANC president or deputy president, and had also made some contribution to your, I think for your son.
Yes, to respond to that, I have no knowledge of such. Now, when I saw something like dinner, I saw something like a list of people who are said to have come to Cape Town for dinner, invited, suppose. What list of guess are these. Because in January 8 dinner, it doesn't happen the way I'm hearing is said to have happened. You don't have your own dinner within dinner. You just go there as invited and you get allocated a table. You don't come with
just to
your-
assist Minister also perhaps to speed up. I'm sure that honourable members will also ask you questions on this, but you deal also with the January 8 celebrations on page 82 to 88 of your statement. It starts at the bottom. Did Nhlanhla pay for my associates or guests in the January 8 celebrations? You may want to reference that or look at it.
Yes. I'm saying I've never asked, or I didn't ask anyone to organize any dinner whatsoever for me during that period. And to be specific, I never asked Brown Mkhwanazi to organize any dinner for me for whatever reason. I didn't. Nor did I compile any list and gave it to anyone to be brought to Cape Town. I never asked anyone to organize accommodation or whatever for me. And as a matter of fact, to start with, my diary was pointing me elsewhere. As a matter of fact, I didn't attend January 8 dinner and rally in Cape Town. I wasn't in Cape Town at all. I left Cape Town on the 8th, and January 8 was going to be on the 11th. Because of, no, first it was just the ordinary program, this one, I think at George. I went there for that particular function. But then this is on the 8th, and then on the 9th, which was Thursday, I departed Cape Town for Durban because there was going to be a memorial service of Professor Bengu, who had passed on. And I'm a relative of him, and I knew him very well. And I was invited to speak at his memorial service at Ishawa. So I flew early in the morning, 6:05, to go to Durban and then proceed to Eshowe. That's where I was on the 9th. And then on the 10th, it was his funeral. So I went to his funeral, which was at Beguzul Hall at the University of Zululand, still in KZN. That is on the 10th. And after that funeral service, I then flew from Richards Bay to Gqeberha. That is Nelson Mandela Bay. An ugly incident had taken place there of a young police officer who got brutally murdered. And I went to his funeral because of the emotions that were there, and to be with the family and with his loved ones. And that's how I spent those days. Now, I didn't know any dinner. I didn't organize any dinner. I didn't send any list. And when I saw the list of people called, said to be my invitees, I know of no one here. There's no one that I know that I would have invited to such a dinner. It's impossible. It's impossible to just find yourself a list of people flying and saying they are coming to your dinner. So I deny with evidence that I had anything to do with that dinner sponsored or said to be sponsored by Nhlanhla, nor did I ask him directly or indirectly via any person to organize any dinner for me. If somebody went on to do this, it was not on my behalf, not in my name. I never associated or got involved in such. It was all a surprise to me when all these things unraveled afterwards.
Thank you, Minister. Okay, can we just move on to Mr. Cedric Nkabinde? He was your chief of staff. Before his appointment as chief of staff, did you know him?
Who is that?
Nkabinde, Cedric Nkabinde.
Yes, I know Nkabinde.
When did you first meet him, or for how long do you know him?
The first time I met Nkabinde, it was because I had written a letter, this letter. I don't know whether the legal team did include it for your reference. It was written, this letter was written in 2017, 29 May 2017. It was written by me to IPIT.
Yeah, sorry, just Honourable Chair, Honourable Members, it is an exhibit to bundle 6. Unfortunately, the bundle, well, the pages are not paginated, but it's about the 4th page.
Yes.
Where
it says read.
this is this is addressed, this is dated 29 May 2017.
Yes.
It's addressed to IPID, Independent Police Investigating Directorate, and it's about complaint against police regarding investigation on the murder of Xolani Nkosi, and it was written by you.
Yes, it's written by me.
Yeah.
Yes. If I could elaborate. How I got to know Nkabinde, it was as a result of this letter. And I want to emphasize that I heard General Mkhwanazi talking about the visit to my home by Robert McBride, who was head of IP, together with Nkabinde. Indeed, that incident did take place, but not the way he was relating it to the public, because he spoke about them flying a long way to Durban and then driving a long way to Mpangeni as if it was leisure and as if it was some
So is this in 2017?
In 2017.
When McBride and Nkabinde, who's also with IPID, when
they were with IPID. And yes.
Yeah, they come to your house, to your home.
Yes, at Mpangeni.
And
after receiving this letter.
Yeah, and was that after you were no longer the premier of KZN?
No, I was no longer.
Okay. So they visit you in 2017 at your home?
Yes.
Is it in connection with this, with your complaint?
Yes.
That you lodged with IPID?
Yes.
Because there was some allegation or some insinuation that you were somehow involved with the death of Xolani?
Yes.
And Xolani was your one of your bodyguards?
He was my staff, not really my close bodyguard, but he was part of the security team that he would advance where I go and check, and then he got murdered at some point, and I wasn't there around Mpangeni. I was working in Ladysmith when I heard it was in the evening that he had been murdered. It was around 8. So
that was the first time you met Nkabinde?
That was the first time I met Nkabinde, and then I explained my matter, the basis of this letter, to McBride, Robert McBride. Yeah. And after we discussed the basis of this letter and everything I was complaining about, Robert McBride allocated Nkabinde to deal with the case. He said, take his details, take whatever, remain in contact, he will give you feedback on your matter. And that is what exactly happened. I maintained contact with Nkabinde. He gave me feedback in terms of what was happening. Now, the real thing that was happening is not what was insinuated in what General Mkhwanazi was saying. This was a grave matter where I believed I was unjustifiably being pursued by the hawks, following this incident, because the Director of Prosecutions in KZN had actually advanced 7 reasons why there wouldn't be any prosecution, where I got to be associated very strangely.
Who was the KZN DPP at the time that cleared you?
I can't recall the name and surname, but following this incident, to give you some clarity, this incident at Mbangen, I followed up the matter as to where police were on the matter, and then I heard that it is now with some units in a Tegwini police unit that were investigating it, and I was satisfied with that. And then after that, I then followed up again. Then I heard that there was a rumor in KZN that I was a suspect myself in the matter of Xolani. Xolani comes from...
So did you lodge or file your complaint with IPID before you heard that you were now also a suspect, or was it afterwards?
No, it was after.
Afterwards?
Yes. I heard that I was a suspect. And this got the family very worried and myself very worried. And I had the services of a private investigator myself to say, no, now that there's a story going around which I don't know anything about, let me safeguard myself and get a private investigator. And that matter then it then took its natural course. In other words, police were investigating, and on the other hand, the private investigator got involved.
Was a private investigator that you appointed?
Yes, I had appointed.
Did this private investigator work with or assist the police?
Yes, to ensure that the matter is investigated objectively, because there were now rumors, very, very ugly and strange rumors of putting me there and so on. Now, finally what happened is that, that those matters were clarified, and the people who had been involved in the matter of Xolani got arrested, and I believe that they are still in jail as we talk, because the matter was thereafter properly investigated and so on. Now, the other matter of me being associated with him and then pursued, I smelled a rat and said, why would Hawks go out of the actual investigation? Because I do even remember that I spoke to Provincial Commissioner, he was acting, Jula, where I said, Jula, I now hear that I am a suspect. Look, if I am a suspect, this is my address, my home address. This is my office in Durban. This is my office in Pietermaritzburg as a premier. If you conclude your investigation and somehow you need me for anything, including arrest, this is where you'll find me. Otherwise, I'll be on the road working. This is my number. And I think a week thereafter, he said, no, he wrote to me and said, you are not a suspect. There is a process going on investigation, which led finally to the arrest of people who had pulled the trigger, and those who had taken his cell phone, being identified and all that, and the matter was closed. So it was very strange that Hawks then started pursuing the matter, on the other hand, in a very strange way. It was for that reason that I then wrote the letter to say, no, what is this now? And then McBride brought in Kabinde, and then they started investigating. And to cut matters short,
did Kabinde engage with the Hawks?
they engaged the Hawks, the head of Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal at that time, to say, what is this? What is the basis? And they found out that he said, according to Kabinde, when they inquired with him, he said he was not satisfied with the reasons that were advanced by DPP, and the procedure was that they would have appealed to the national head of prosecutions instead of pursuing a matter that was now closed by DPP at provincial level. And that was out of procedure, what was happening.
So once I'm sorry to
Yes.
to speed it up a bit, Honourable Minister. So once the suspects were apprehended, they were prosecuted,
Yes.
and imprisoned. What happened, or what was your relationship with Nkabinde? He is now working for IPID.
Yes.
That issue has now been resolved. So just fast forward a bit. What did you continue
Yeah.
to have a relationship? Did it strengthen with Nkabinde? Did it become personal? Just tell us a bit about that.
It was now very loose and very relaxed, not pursuing anything, because I was now satisfied. I need to have mentioned that what I said to Chula was that you can pursue me if you feel I'm a suspect, but don't lose sight of somebody whose hands are with Xolani's blood, and there's evidence to that effect. You rather do both.
Yeah.
And I put that very strongly. And that led to that person being prosecuted and so on.
But
So
Minister-
with Kabinde, it was now very loose. It would be just a call here and there, not for anything. I just appreciated the way they had done the job.
Now we heard this actually from Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, that Nkabinde then left the IPID. I'm not sure whether it was a termination, a resignation, or a dismissal, but he left
Yes.
IPID.
Yes.
I think he had a fallout allegedly with McBride,
Yes.
and he left IPID. He was unemployed for a while, and then Mkhwanazi found him a job with a security firm. I don't know if you're able to comment on that or how much you know about it. If you don't have to
Well-
comment on it. But yeah, so during this period that I'm referring to, do you still have a relationship with Nkabinde? Do you still know him? Do you still interact with him?
Now, when I called Cedric in terms of the vacancy as Chief of Staff, to say he may submit a application if he so wishes for the panel that would interview them. I did check some detail on the profile, and actually, after I spoke to him, it is not exactly as John Mkhwanazi puts it. Cedric spoke to me that all the reasons why he had to leave IPID and circumstances thereof. After that, he got employed by the bank in their forensics department and so on. And he told me that John Mkhwanazi actually knows that Cedric got employed in the bank because he would invite Gerald Mkhwanazi to functions of the bank because they were close, and he would attend. So he knows beyond any doubt that he got employed. So he found it strange that he is said to have been unemployed.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the position is currently, but they were friends. They were close.
They were.
That's
Yes.
how we hear about these phone calls between Mkhwanazi and Kabinde. So,
Well, I'm not
let's
sure.
just fast forward, but this position of chief of staff.
Yes.
What was it? Is it an advertised position?
No.
What
it's-
what are the qualifications you need to have to be a chief of staff of a minister in government?
Now, there is something called ministerial handbook. What happens is that when you recruit staff, you've got to look at the ministerial book and what it says about each position, and then you contact people that you think are possible candidates, and they get to a panel set up by the department that you are working for, and they get interviewed. I know this in detail because I was once Minister of Public Service and Administration, and I made sure that I introduce improvements that are in place today in terms of recruitment, so that you don't recruit anyone just because you love them or because they are associated with you or they are your relatives. We prescribed certain qualifications, because if you're chief of staff, you are actually a chief director. So it can't be that you get there because you are related to the current minister. You must possess, because you get a salary paid for by the public, you must be seen to be meeting certain criteria.
So he had to meet the
He had to
criteria
meet-
of qualifications for a chief director
together with
in the
other
public
people.
in the public
Yes,
service.
Definitely.
And that position is advertised.
No, that position is not advertised. It just gets proceeded with internally. Within the,
Because I'm asking because you mentioned something about a panel. Maybe I got it wrong.
Yes,
I heard
the-
wrong.
yes, it gets processed by the department itself internally. That there's you are supposed to have such a number of staff members, and we are ready with the panel. You can give us names and so on, including internally. People get to know inside the department that
So
there's a-
how does the panel get these names? Is it an internal?
it's an internal arrangement that you give them names of people, but other people get to know that there's a post internally within that department, and they apply. But it is a risk thing in the sense that when anyone who works with you, who agrees to work with you, has their term attached to your term. So, being minister, you get appointed, but at some point you get appointed, you know that you will get disappointed at some point. And when they come, they know that they will be
Appointed and then you get
disappointed together with you.
disappointed.
Yes. So you can't easily leave a permanent post only to be disappointed the following week or so.
No, I just want to understand, how did Nkabindi's name get into the mix? If this was an internal process, how
It's-
did his name get?
It's an internal process.
Did you put forward his name?
You put forward the names as a minister, but you also allow, if there are people internally that can apply, that would wish to apply, and they do so. And so they therefore submit their profiles, why they think they are suitable, and so on, and then they get interviewed. That's the bottom line. They get interviewed.
They get interviewed, and do they then make a recommendation to you, or do they?
They do
who makes you make the appointment?
They do give me results of the application on various aspects of what these people know, what they have in terms of skills and all of those things, even qualifications academically and so on. And then you say, look, I would rather take so and so, and looking at compliance and all of those matters.
And those records, would one be able to access them? Would they be available?
They get kept by the department.
Okay.
They get kept by the department.
So
because
so from the list of names, how many names did you get?
Well, it is in accordance with the establishment for your support as minister as prescribed by the ministerial handbook. They allocated a specific number.
So
it's a limited number.
on what basis or for what reason did you prefer Nkabinde as chief of staff? Is it because of your relationship with him, which started in 2017 when he was working for IPID?
That is one factor, but the other factor is compliance. His educational qualifications, his experience, which is related to police. I had a chief of staff, but when I came to police, I realized that, look, I would benefit from somebody who has background. This is a large department, it's a police department. I would benefit if I were to get somebody who has some understanding of how police work. And so on. And I found that he met those criteria. But as a minister, when you do so, you also need somebody who you think you can trust, and so on, somebody you have some background with. And yes, that was one factor that I considered.
Now, I understand that he was only a non-commissioned, lower-level police officer. He had no senior police experience.
The post of chief of staff didn't require that I look for somebody who must have been a brigadier or must have been a general or something like that, because there was no such prescription. Prescription is there. That a person must have a certain level of qualifications, and he met those qualifications with a degree in policing and all of that, and so the level is not necessarily prescribed. Actually, you can even get somebody who has no background of policing, but I needed somebody. I thought I needed somebody who had some background of policing, because I was all of a sudden appointed there, and therefore I needed that kind of leverage.
And I suppose the other maybe unwritten criteria or qualification, or rather criteria, is you need to appoint someone that you can trust.
You definitely need somebody,
especially chief of staff.
Yes, that you have a certain level of trust with. But at the same time, you can trust a person, but only to find that they have no related experience, nor do they have qualifications. And therefore, it's quite a number of factors that you have to consider when doing so.
I also asked because there is a WhatsApp, which I'll find, or ask to find, where I think it's Mkhwanazi or Nhlanhla, they say that they're looking for your number, and then it says that they should ask Nkabinde for your number. Are you aware of it? Do you want to comment on it?
Not.
Or would this be the usual protocol? If I want your number, Honourable Minister, do I have to go through your Chief of Staff to get your number?
Now, I'm not sure I'm aware of that, but in case it happened, it wouldn't have been something that would have happened for the first time. They phone PAs, they even phone other people that I work with looking for the number. It depends on who the person who wants my contact gets to know or to get to contact. It's not just the Chief of Staff only, but they also do talk to other people that I work with. In some cases, they even talk to my wife wanting my numbers.
But that's at a very personal level, isn't it?
Well,
not when it comes
not
to
necessarily.
work or business relationships.
You lose quite a chunk of your private life. They would phone her on something related to my work, wanting an appointment or something like that. Even my children, in some cases, they phone them and they say, give me your number, only to find that it's something related to work. A person requires an appointment with me for some reason or the other. It happens.
But Minister, of course, it's in this context because
yes.
I'm sure you'd be concerned about it. I mean, it's in the context of, you've heard various allegations about Mkhwanazi and Nhlanhla. It's in that context that there's reference to him and that he'll provide your number. Is that appropriate? Is that a satisfactory state of affairs?
Now, I don't know what Senior Counsel is talking about because I haven't come across it where the two would have wanted my number from Chief of Staff, but if it did happen, I'm just wondering what they would have wanted that number for and when and all of that. But as I indicated earlier, I indicated that I started interacting with the name Nhlanhla, not him, after the 20th of November. So if they were looking for my number after the 20th via the Chief of Staff, it could have been something to do with that issue. But even there, I would still, wonder what it was all about.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Then I'm moving on from Nkabinde now.
Yes.
You wanted to reference some, what you call discrepancies in Mkhwanazi's account, and it's in your statement at page 33.
Yes. I wanted to touch on those briefly, on those discrepancies. Which bangle? On page?
No, it's not 33. Page, it's 24, sorry. Page 24 to 33. 24, there's a subheading, discrepancies in Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi's accounts. And it goes to page 33.
Yes, I'm
Do
trying
you want to address that?
I'm trying to get some assistance to get to those. Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I wouldn't want to take a lot of time, seeing that we don't have as much time. I'll just make a few references where I came across very, very, very concerning discrepancies. I've already pointed at one discrepancy in relation to what I said in Parliament on the 5th of March, and related to what he said on the 6th of March, and that there's a yawning discrepancy, very disturbing discrepancy between the two. But the ones that I want to talk about here is one is where General Mkhwanazi is continuously referring to, in his affidavits, to the National Political Killings Task Team as a KwaZulu-Natal political killings task team. The actual official name of the team is National Political Killings Task Team, and it's important that we stick with that particular reference, because if you juggle, you get to mislead the public, maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally. Number two, on the 6th, at the media briefing that he did, asserted that the National Political Killings Task Team had been disbanded as a result of my directive of the 31st of December 2024 letter. And in the same breath claimed that today, that day, the 6th, they are bringing all dockers to Sibia as a result of the disbandment. He linked things that are not linked. The disbandment, the directive that I gave to dockets In my directive, there's no reference whatsoever to dockets. There's no reference whatsoever to SBIA. So when you read the directive and you make a public appearance shortly thereafter, or sometime thereafter, and you say as a result of that directive, I am now taking dockets, you make the public believe that following your directive, you are now taking the dockets to a SBIA, and you link the two in a troubling kind of manipulation or manipulated
Yeah, I
kind of
think it's
relations.
pretty clear to me, Minister,
Yes.
that
The next one.
that the dockets were requested by Sabia and not
Yes.
by you.
But in the Nhlanhla Commission, General Mkhwanazi then changed completely, and he then spoke about acknowledging the continuing operations of a national political killings task team, notwithstanding my disbandment. He did say expressly that work is continued to operate even in 2025. That's what he was saying. So quite worrying discrepancy as a result. The next one, before Nhlanhla Commission, General Mkhwanazi suggested that Parliament had failed to act after his 5th March appearance before the SAPS Portfolio Committee, including that Parliament had been confronted with the same WhatsApp and proof of payment evidence that he had publicly alleged. And I know that subsequent to that, the Honorable Chair did confirm that there was no such at the Portfolio Committee. And I did attend. There was no such a presentation. And there are a number of those. I don't want to exhaust all of them. But also, somewhere in point 66, during the ad hoc committee hearings on 9 October, the honorable members, yes, that's what I'm saying, the chair of the portfolio committee did deny all these things being presented, including any commentary from SAPS, because in that meeting, SAPS never raised any concern whatsoever about the disbandment. They just presented compliance and so on. But the other discrepancies, Mr. Nhlanhla, or any 360 million tender was not presented there and so on. So there are quite a number of discrepancies. I'm just making references to them in the interest of time, that come about in his statements depending on the platform. And that is very, very worrying.
Well, you've set it out in your statement.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister, Honourable Chair. That concludes this part of our questioning. As usual, at the back end, you're a cricket man at the back end. If I can get the opportunity of asking a few more questions, depending obviously how it goes with the honourable members' questioning of the Minister. Thank you very much, Minister.
Yeah, Minister and SC, thank you so much. It has been a protracted session, starting from Thursday last week. I think you deserve a 20 minutes break. We will come back at 11. Thank you.
I would want to use part of my 20 minutes because Senior Counsel asked me a question that while I was just starting, I had just started on the contract. Then we got diverted to something else. It is very important to explain that in a way.
Yeah, you can explain that in 3 minutes.
I would do so.
Yeah, we must break at 20 minutes before.
Yes, I'll take 1 minute to add another contrast.
Yeah.
On the 6th of July, General Mkhwanazi made an allegation to the public that I was guilty for interfering on police operations and on protecting syndicates and all of those. But when he was confronted by one member of the ad hoc committee in the portfolio committee, he publicly said, I quote, I wouldn't say corrupt per se, but on the 6th, he told the public that I'm corrupt, public. That's why I was saying the other time, I'm like wearing his allegations and smelling his allegations. Then he tells the public that no, I wouldn't say corrupt per se, and so on. A police officer can't talk like that. A police officer must say, this person is corrupt, here is my evidence. He can't become a politician per se, although chair members, because of what has happened, you are now looking at the trust. You would have looked for the trust and for any other thing and put it on the table and then go to the TV rather than going to TV first. And then you come back, you say, I'm looking for this. Otherwise, all of us would be guilty on a daily basis if police officers in South Africa just go to TV and say, you are corrupt, but I'm looking for evidence. I'm looking for this and that and so on. That's the first thing. Very, very worrying contrast if we could have high-ranking officers working like that in the Republic. But let me go for this. On the 20th, Chair, it's important to highlight that it is Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu, who at this moment is on suspension, who initiated the cancellation of the tender, 360 million. And I read that News 24 article early in the morning, just after 6. And when we were flying to KZN together with the National Commissioner, I gave him my cell phone. I said, have you looked at this thing, this article? And he looked at it and he said, yes, I know about this. I did make an inquiry with supply chain about this, and they said, no, the tender had been done properly. That's what National Commissioner said. And he added by saying, if you want a briefing, I can organize a briefing for you. And I said, National Commissioner, I would want a briefing because if the portfolio committee asked me about this, I wouldn't be able to answer, even though it was awarded before I came. And that's how we landed at the process that was now reviewing this, which ended up with all of us agreeing that the tender was so flawed that it actually shouldn't have been awarded in the first place, and it led to its cancellation. So I want this ad hoc committee to know, and everybody to know that I initiated the cancellation. So I was very worried when National Commissioner made a joinder at Nhlanhla Commission say he wonders whether I knew that the tender belonged to Nhlanhla. The article I showed him on the cell phone was clearly written Nhlanhla. He saw it. So I didn't know why he is now wondering that I possibly may not have seen. Now, supposedly twisting the sentiment to the public in a worrying, manipulative manner, that I showed him the article blindfolded, and had I known that it was the tender belonged to Nhlanhla, was awarded to Nhlanhla, I wouldn't have done what he did. I want to make it public that I got both shocked and disturbed by that. I have very good relations with the National Commissioner. He would have known me by then, and it shouldn't have surprised him. And even now, if I see the thing, I would still have said, cancel this tender. And that's why I engaged on the process and saw it to the end. I saw that the tender had been awarded to Nhlanhla. I deliberately initiated this and followed up even in January, leading up to the cancellation. And I confirm that I stand by that initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, honorable members. May we break until 11 o'clock.
Africa. Honorable Minister, I'll go straight to the directive that you gave on the 31st of December through the correspondence that you wrote. You know, Minister, when I'm looking at that correspondence and the timing of it, I can say that it was very much contentious, given the fact that you were aware that the National Commissioner was on leave, and you didn't even have at least to brief the National Commissioner with your intentions to disband the PKTT. So that's why I'm regarding that directive, and it has that immediate effect on it. That's why I'm saying that the timing of that correspondence to me. Do you agree to that, Minister? Yes, we will respond. I come back.
Yeah. Just specifically, do I agree to what?
If I'm saying that the timing of issuing the letter, knowing quite well that the National Commissioner
Yes.
was on leave,
Yes.
and you had time sitting with the Commissioner, maybe 3 days before, you can say that I've got this intention.
Yes.
When the National Commissioner goes, we will say that the National Commissioner was aware. That's
Can
my
I say
question.
the National Commissioner was aware of my letter?
Of your intention
Oh,
to
okay.
disband and issue a letter to that regard with an immediate
Okay.
effect. Because on the 31st, you issued a letter with an immediate effect. So
Okay.
it means that it came abruptly.
Okay. Now, let me start with immediate. Immediate should never be read outside of preliminary report, outside now reference to the preliminary report. 2, it should never be read outside the meeting that was indicated in the directive of UNESCO, because it will definitely be out of context. It will be like, I just sent the word, terminate with immediate, terminate immediately, like a switch on the wall. Please, when you look at immediate, look at preliminary, look at the other meeting that was intended at the end of January. You will see that as we wrote in immediate, but there was a clear indication, black and white, that there would be other engagements at a later stage. That's the first thing. And of course, the immediate itself shouldn't be read to mean now as a term. Switch off, switch on. It shouldn't. Last time I made an example that if you were driving a vehicle of the National Political Killing Stars team, and you had a suspect at the back of your van or somewhere, you wouldn't say, oh, immediate effect. As soon as National Commissioner received this, he wouldn't have made a call to say, release all those who are in your cars, throw the dockets and so on. That was not the intention at all. I even welcome the National Commissioner indicating at a later stage that when he responded on how to operate or implement the directive, that he came with the phased approach and all those matters. That is the two sides of the same coin. But let me go to your first part of the question. There was nothing wrong with the timing from where I sit, because I indicated earlier in my main affidavit that I wanted a situation where at the beginning of the year we would have something concrete and clearly identified that it's something that I wanted to get rid of, or I wanted us to persist with immediately amidst all other issues, because you tend to be overwhelmed when you work in this situation. You have to be very clear. I want to pursue this and this and this, and to me this was outstanding. But there was also that issue that I indicated earlier of some risks that came from the concerns of other people. Thank you.
But if I say you have to wait for the National Commissioner to go, and have an acting person on his place, then you issue. If I'm saying that you fail to give the National Commissioner your intentions, because to me, the National Commissioner goes, then immediately, because the immediate effect comes in many ways. Immediately, the National Commissioner is not in the office. A directive is issued.
No, the immediate doesn't mean immediate when he is not there. It only related to the decision that I had taken, and that would then be engaged in or on in those meetings that I was indicating. If it was like a switch, I would have just said stop and not indicate the other meetings. And I'm persuading the ad hoc committee to recognize the preliminary report, the call for the preliminary report, and the other one at a later stage, UNESCO, which is very, very, very important and key in the department. So the immediate wasn't like I was awaiting the National Commissioner to go, and I did indicate that I was still processing until about the 3 days before the end of the year, processing my thinking. And I don't think I should be punished for not being able to process earlier. If I had come with some circling kind of decision on this matter like September, it would have been otherwise. It was just a coincidence that it was at the end of the year. Thank you.
Okay. And it is because, to me, it's on my side that immediately the National Commissioner is not in the office, a directive is issued. It's on me, not on you, Minister. You have answered your immediate effect.
But just note the 20th, that on the 20th, there was to be a preliminary report. He would have come back. In other words, the preliminary report wasn't called for while on leave. It was after he would have come back.
Did you have a trust in the National Commissioner in being able to do the job or anything?
Do I have the trust?
Yeah.
On many occasions, long after I got appointed, I did publicly express my confidence to the National Commissioner. And all records, for all practical purposes, show that we had good relations with the National Commission. Not once do we quarrel. But of course, this is a work situation. There would be a situation where he had an opinion different from mine or mine from him. But we had cordial working relations with the National Commissioner throughout.
I think, Minister, you know, when you had engagement with our SC, asking you about meeting the National Commissioner in a funeral on the 28th of December in KZN, you said you couldn't discuss the work related in a funeral. But to me, because I'm looking at this timing, to me, didn't you find it discourteous that you are with the National Commissioner, then 3 days after that, you're in a funeral, you don't even whisper that you're going to take this drastic decision of disbanding the PKTT. I'm raising this because this PKTT, I'm having a document here. that was submitted today, and some of the issues are not correct, or that reflect on the political killings or of the politicians. I know you have said that on the political killings, you didn't want it reflect the reducing crime. You talk about political killings on this task team, but you wanted to talk it broadly. But now you have the National Commissioner in a funeral, together with the Provincial Commissioner. You don't even whisper that to the National Commissioner that you are going to take this decision. You don't even give the National Commissioner a listening ear. What would he say if I'm saying that I'm going to disband them on the 31st with immediate effect? Didn't give a hearing to the National Commissioner, and yet you knew the National Commissioner will be gone 3 days after that funeral.
I want to repeat what I said at the beginning. I had no solid idea. This is despite the funeral, that it's not normal that you would suddenly in a funeral remember but even if I had remembered, I did not have a solid idea of how to engage with the National Commissioner by then. That's why I said it was only after I started relaxing at home, 29, 30, and 31, that everything then shaped up in my mind. Under normal circumstances, if I had shaped up by then, I would have even asked for an hour or two, go to a hotel, sit, and relate this. But at that time, I was just busy still turning up this thing in my mind. It's different in an ad hoc comment because you are looking post. At that time, I was going forward, looking forward to have a solid idea of. I didn't even have 31 in my mind at that time. That come 31, I'll write a letter. To be honest, it didn't happen that way. I was just still checking or turning things in my mind how I would actually engage on this matter.
You know, those police that are in the hierarchy, that your National Commissioner, your Provincial Commissioner in KZN, they have a trust in you. Why am I saying that? It is because when we inquired about this directive, if you are saying that you met the minister on a funeral on the 28th of December, did you say he didn't even whisper? They said they think on their own, they think you signed that letter. Maybe someone wrote that letter when you can't say with immediate effect that you are disbanding the PKTT to show that they had trust in you. But now the I'm just raising it on this issue of the 28th of December because when we're interacting with them before you coming here, they raised that. They said, maybe it's not the minister who wrote that correspondence with an immediate effect. That's why I'm raising it, the funeral thing.
Factually, it's me who wrote the letter. Factually,
Okay.
It's me who wrote immediately. And as I say, I had no solid view at the time on the date of the funeral, how I would deal with the matter. it only came once I settled at home for a few days, processing this in my mind. Thank you.
Then, Minister, I think maybe a rounding off in this timing of the letter, and now the letter is there. How would you expect to maintain a collegial work environment within SAPS, especially with the people that are taking decision, having a decision that you have taken with such, I've said, in effect, maybe the nature of the decision, such without consensus, taking a decision without consensus, then the collegial work environment with you and the generals there.
Let me say the first day or time when we met with the National Commissioner, the only thing we discussed in relation to the letter was in the context of it having leaked, that it could have been better if we handled the matter otherwise without the letter, because it then leaked and then unleashed unintended things going to other people for which it was not, or to whom it was not intended. On collegiality of the matter, I would take your comment kindly, and perhaps it is something that could have, if it had cropped in my mind, it could have caused me to make a call that, hey, I'm now taking this decision, having thought through in those 3 days. Now, I acknowledge that from you as a feeling, but I'm saying it shouldn't be construed that this matter was not of concern before that it had not cropped up in any meeting, the review, as minutes show, on the 1st and the 22nd, that we had in fact looked at the matter and commented the way we did before the letter was written. If you like, if there were strong feelings after those meetings of the 1st and the 22nd of November, I could have received a presentation that say, we heard your comments, we have your statements of the 1st and 22nd. This is what we, in case you arrive at a decision, this is what we think that the matter could or should be handled. It could have happened, and I wouldn't have rejected that. So nothing came after those comments or the need for the review, which I shared with the National Commissioner and other people in management. But I'm not wanting to point a finger to anyone. I'm merely saying that there was a scope for us to engage before, and we did engage, but when I finally took the decision, it was not out of the blue. There was a context, as I have indicated before, including on the structure, including on implementation. There was a whole context, to be honest, and we were now pressed with issues of budget, as I indicated, that needed to be acted on. Remember, I just have 5 years as a Minister of Police, within which to deliver and make a mark on a very pressing kind of environment where people are dying. You need to act and act urgently.
Yeah, thank you, Minister. Minister, I know you dispute the fact that you didn't give a directive for the document to go to General Sbiya. But, however, can you agree with me that the effective or the effects of the directive that caused General Sbiya to take a chance and said the dockets must be handed to him because he saw a gap, because the directive is not saying anything about the dockets that the PKTT was dealing with there.
I wouldn't agree with you, Honorable Member, on that, especially because my correspondence was to the National Commissioner, not to Sbiya. I've never sent a letter whatsoever to Sbiya, no email, no WhatsApp on dockets. Everything was discussed overboard. In fact, to be factual, the first word on the how part was it came from the National Commissioner. Remember that the first document on the how part substantively came in the form of the presentation on the 5th of March, where we saw phasing out and all those terms. They had come with the letter, I think, of the National Commissioner on the 22nd. It's purely the National Commissioner who came with these terms, which were now on the operational side of it, which were quite reasonable, because that is the terrain that he would have let in quite properly. So whatever Sbiya did, he wouldn't have done that because I had said or done anything to him. And there's no evidence that suggests otherwise to what I'm saying. So it just didn't. So I wouldn't agree with you, except that it's one of the things that followed after, but it doesn't flow directly from what from the directive that I had given, because it was never to Sbiya, it was to the National Commission.
And can you agree with me, Minister? The consequential effect of the directive caused the dockets to land in General Sbiya's office because of that directive. Would you agree with me?
I won't agree with you because, in the first place, I'm not sure of any docket in Sbiya's office. But essentially, because there was no word on dockets in my directive. There was nothing. So I wouldn't agree with you on something that I didn't write about. Having had a consequence, or the way dockets would have been handled is a different matter. The way they were handled or could have been handled is a totally different process from the letter of directives.
Okay. Then can you also agree with me, Minister, that another consequential effect of the directive caused the halting of investigation, made everything to be at a standstill because the dockets, they were in between space because the people who were making investigation is the PKTT. Would you agree with me? It had an effect to the investigation and other documents that were ready to be taken to court. Would you agree with me that it had that effect?
Not exactly. Let me tell you why. part of the conversation on the 6th of July was to the effect that I am accused of disbandment on the 31st, disbandment of the National Political Killings Task Team on the 31st of December 2024 with the sole purpose of protecting some people called criminal syndicates. And reference is made on 3 cases in particular. One is the Vereeniging case in Gauteng. Second one is the 2022 case of DJ, and the other one is Nhlanhla. Those 3 cases in particular, which may opportunistically be linked to what you are saying, have nothing to do with the 22 dockets that, in fact, you may be referring to. Those 3 dockets, because it was insinuated opportunistically and totally wrongly that those 3 cases were affected after the directive. That's why I'm said to have disbanded, because I was wanting to protect some people in Gauteng, which is a lie and factually not the case. To a point where even if it disbanded the following day, those 3 cases would not have been affected whatsoever, because they are handled in Gauteng, they are handled by police in Gauteng, they were initiated by them, they caused arrest, and they are continuing. They are even arguing bail against those people. It is them. So firstly, we should just separate that kind of temptation of beginning to link the disbandment with those 3 cases. Let me come to the other ones, 121 dockets. Now, I was told at some point, and I do wish that the ad hoc committee also call people who were actually handling the dockets at head office, not just General Spear under whom it was happening, but to name a person that I know was handling this. It was General Sentumule and General Kumalo and General Motsipe. Those 3 people, particularly General Motsipe, under whom this was. You would hear a much more detailed, much more comprehensive report on each one of those dockets and the status. And I would then see afterwards if you would be of that opinion. Then you may come back to me and say, ask me whether I agree or not. Maybe it will be me saying, Honorable Member Sokanyile, do you agree with me that it is not what you thought at the beginning, after hearing more comprehensive details on the dockets? I even happen to know that there was a call at some point when members of the National Political Killings Task Team called General Motsipe about a docket in the interim, and they wanted to proceed, and they thought that it was part of the 121 dockets. And she said to them, that docket is not part of the 121. Check in your dockets that are remaining there. And when they checked, they found that the docket was there. And they said sorry to her, and so on. So I'm saying not exactly. And remember that according to the report that I'm aware of, some of the dockets were 2016 dockets. Some of them in later years, 2020, 2018, and Spear came to this committee and did respond along those lines. But they are the people who know exactly the status of each. So it shouldn't be assumed in a blanket approach that each and every one of those dockets while they were at head office, then it caused screeches, a standstill, as you are suggesting, for the cases not to move. So, not exactly.
Can you assist me here, Minister?
Pardon?
Why do you always put an N before the PKTT? Because it seems as if we've got the PKTT knowing it was working nationally, but to stress this N when you speak about the PKTT, why is it important to put that?
I stress what?
The NPKTT.
It's
Then us as the ad hoc committee, because most of the people who came before you, they were talking about the political killing task team. Then you put that national.
Yeah, I want to suggest that they were not even talking about the political killings task team. They were talking about PKTT. That was the word that was running, more than political killings task team. But I am using that because it is proper to do so, because this is what it was created to be, and this is what it was, legally and formally and official. But you can use whatever other
We shorten.
references and
You'll
so on.
say that, we
but
shorten
it was what it was meant to be.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, General Spear was here before you. We'll say that because the document, the dockets were in his office. 3 or 4 months, nothing was done on some of those documents. If you listen to what was said, I'm just raising it not to say respond on that. I've heard your answer that we must act so and so on that. But we
Before-
did establish that 3 or 4 months, those dockets that were taken or which they find themselves in General Spear's office, nothing was done to them.
Perhaps not exactly. That's not what I heard. What I seem to have heard and are aware of is that those dockets were, got to be worked on after handover. And there are quite a lot of things that happened when they were to be taken to the serious and violent crimes unit in KZN. So, resulting into a fair conclusion that it wouldn't have even taken that period if the process of handing over had become smooth as it was envisaged. But there were hitches among officials between KZN and nationally on the matter as they handled the dockets. But even that period when they were still at head office, they were being worked on, and there was even an investigation ordered by the National Commissioner where he appointed General Patekile to go and investigate, and they asked for the dockets. And so they were being worked on in one way or the other, and they were not just lying there, as it had been said on the 6th of July, otherwise that they were gathering dust and so on. It turns out that it was not necessarily the case.
Okay. Then lastly, Minister, in the circumstances, would you agree with me or this ad hoc committee when I say that your decision undermined policing and crime efforts
It
and
undermined
crime
what?
fighting efforts?
Undermined what?
Policing.
Policing. Okay.
Yeah, and crime fighting efforts in relation to the work that was done by the PKTT. Because during the existence of the PKTT, everyone agrees there was reduction, especially on the political killings, because that was a target.
I wouldn't. I've just read a statement that General Mkhwanazi made to Nhlanhla Commission that PKTT, as you would want me to refer to it, was at work. That's what he said in Nhlanhla. In other words, he says, although I had issued that directive, but they never stopped working on anything. So we can't ignore that statement. That's number one. Number two, if you say policing was hampered in any way, I think it's over-exaggerating those matters that were dealt with by the National Political Killings Task Team at that time, and taking it for policing in the whole country, which is an error. It's far, far, far from that. Let me just indicate to you the report that was subsequently given by National Commissioner through the head of National Political Killings Task Team, General Kumal, to the Portfolio Committee on the 5th. He speaks about 7 murders. No, this year, last year, 2024. In 2024 that they dealt with. He speaks about 1 murder by the 5th of March, 2025. 1 murder in KZN. That is how far a reduction had gone in terms of political killings in KZN. Now, if you say that docket, for instance, that was dealing with this 1 murder on the 25th, those 7 murders that are indicated on the graph on the 5th of March, and you refer to them that this was policing that was disturbed, that was hampered, I will not agree with you. There were thousands of other cases, and there were activities throughout the country. And I do want to warn that we shouldn't, and I said it in my main submission, that we should not mistake the work of the team, the National Political Killings Task Team, for a substitute of policing in South Africa. It shouldn't, because once we do so, we are making a factual error. It would lend in a sentimental way to people in South Africa to believe that at some point I took a decision that caused things to stand still in the cases. This was work of the Political Killings Task Team, and as and when I did this, there were 7 fresh cases that were being dealt with in 2024, and as reflected in the report that he gave on the 5th of March, which was 1 case, a fresh case, plus the dockets that were being dealt with, of course, under investigation. So I won't agree with you once more.
Okay, Minister, lastly, I've got a document that we received this morning. When I inquired about it, I was told that it came yesterday through your lawyers. Then this document, it tells a report on the global initiative against transitional organized crime. Then it says the politics of murder, written by Ruby Mutamba and Kwaita Tobela, May 2024. Then if you're going to look at page 14 of the document, it reflects about councillors killed leading up to the elections of local government, November 2021. One of the people that is said to have been killed in October 2021 is Xolile Nkompela. You know Xolile Nkompela, I think, during my era as the mayor. Xolile Nkompela, a municipal speaker, was ambushed and killed while returning home after campaigning for the ANC in Tsolo, in the Eastern Cape. Xolile Nkompela is still alive. And kicking. And the document here that is brought here to the ad hoc committee, it reflects like this. Because if Xolile Nkompela can see this, you know yourself, Minister, he can say that it's me who said he has been killed. He's not killed because I was the mayor, he was the speaker.
It in fact even reduces the number of the councillors that were killed and erroneously registered in the document as having been killed, which would increase the number. It means that the number of councillors...
Was it not done deliberately? That were given a document to come to us, reflecting Xolile Nkompela being killed, so that we can say that it reduces the number, Minister.
No. The report is not written by me. It's written by a global initiative. But I'm saying the effect thereof is that if we thought that that report was accurate, it would mean that the number of councillors killed is plus or inclusive of that councillor, when in fact it is minus that councillor. It means that it's an error.
I think we must put it straight. Xolile Nkompela is still alive.
And that is great news.
Honorable Sokanyile.
And that is positive news
The report
from
that
where
you-
I sit.
The report that you refer to, who brought it here?
I went to the lady to ask. who
Is
has
it part
given you
of
the
your
document?
Is it part of your
It's
submission,
part of
Minister?
the minister's
Yes, Chair.
submission.
Yes, it is me who spoke to my lawyers to bring that report to their attention. And if there's an error, all we need to do as a collective is to, on my side maybe, raise my hands and say there was an error on the side of the global initiative. But in essence, that report talks about 4 categories, as I spoke last time, 4 categories of matter in South Africa, in KZN in particular, and give estimates which I believe are quite next to accurate from where I sit. But if you are then suggesting that just because there was that error, it shouldn't be, we shouldn't register with the contents of the whole report, I would disagree. Errors do happen.
Honorable Minister, may you please confine yourself to the statement about Nkompela? Or if there is another Nkompela, because I know where I come from, you may find in a village you have 5 or 6 Mulapi Lekganyane. So what is your response to the name that has been mentioned there? I have noted the honorable members, Honorable Skosana and Honorable Shonga, I'll give you time to speak. If we can just deal with this part of Mr. Nkompela.
I have no reason whatsoever to doubt the honesty of the honorable member, who I happen to know personally, Honorable Member Sokanyile. I believe that she's correct in what she's bringing my attention to.
Okay, Honorable Skosana. Are you fine, Honorable Sokanyile? Okay, Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think it's appropriate, Chair, for the Minister to downplay what we were given and we were told this document is part and parcel of the Minister's submission to us. And I mean, it means we must discard this information which were given to us, because it means it did not peruse the document whether it's his lawyers, but he must take responsibility of this document. He can't downplay this. I mean, we're given this document this morning. We're told by the lady to say this document comes from the minister. It can't be downplayed, Chair. I don't think we are really. We have to take this thing as easy as that. That, you know what, the minister is distancing himself from the document. It can't be, Chair. Please protect us, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Shongwe.
No, Chair, I was in line with Honorable Skosana, but Chair, please protect us. The minister has a tendency of ukusibonisa indlela akhuthele ngayo. Ubuzwa lo umbuzo asiphendula into yaseJohn yakaJohn waseNineve ayilandele kude. And that takes isikhathi, Chair. So siyacela ngasibonisa ukukhuthala kwakhe. And number 2, Chair, if leli phepha ezenalo yena akalithembi akasitshele manje silijikise ngoba if already seline error A1, how many more are there? So we must deal with this document immediately ukuthi do we accept it or not. If uthi li right linje asiqhubeka nalo linje. Sazi ukuthi uxola ubani lo la uphilayo? Uyabona ke? No, thank you, Chair.
Do you want to say something, Honorable Nhlanhla? Okay. No, Honorable Minister, the members are right. You have to take responsibility for the material that have been submitted before us. Especially that you make reference that these submissions have been made through the assistance of your legal team. You can imagine if Mr. Khombela or his family or people who know him are following the proceedings now, it may cause a very serious inconvenience on his part. Or if I arrive at home now, I just switch on television and I hear that Mr. Khombela is no more, I start sending messages of condolence to his family because it's something which is being said in Parliament. I don't even have time to check the veracity of such statements. I think it can cause very, very serious inconveniences. And I think you, here on record, you must apologize for submitting that material, but also make an apology to whoever it may concern. Thank you so much.
I take full responsibility. Even before, I didn't say it is just lawyers that brought it, and I said I did insist that that report be brought to my lawyers. I didn't disown the report or the fact that it was brought in here. And so I take responsibility of ensuring that the report is brought in here. But I do acknowledge that it is clearly written that that's the Global Initiative report, which I identify with by and large. But I acknowledge that it has that error in relation to Councillor Khombela, and for that I apologize to the family and anybody else whom it affected as such. It shouldn't have been that way. Thank you.
Honorable, yeah, thank you so much, honorable members. Honorable Ngola, it is now your time.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I can also attest that Mr. Xolile Ngombela is alive and kicking, busy organizing horse racing events there, down there by Cele. I can give you his number so that you video call him through the lunchtime.
But do you know if there is other citizen using the same names?
No, Chair, there's only one Xolile Ngombela who's a former speaker from Cele. There's only one person who was ambushed, but he was not killed. It is true that he was ambushed, but he was not killed. So that there is a difference in the two. Okay, let me leave that, Chair. Minister, let's start with the audio that was played as part of your evidence. Firstly, I was concerned of Chair that the minister advised Mr. Nkabinde to record General Mkhwanazi without the consent or knowledge of General Mkhwanazi. So I thought it would be important that we consult some necessary and relevant legal prescripts in that regard. But I also saw that actually the RICA Act does allow one to record a communication if they are part of. So it gives two instances, two conditions, Chair, that if that person is part of that conversation and that person is not using that to commit a criminal offense. So I was quite worried, Maqingwana. But this is the point where we've got different ways of interpreting what was happening. General Mkhwanazi testified and said, Mr. Nkabinde said to him, there may be unknown people who have tapped in his communication devices without his knowledge. Now, when you testify that you would have advised the chief of staff to make a recording of the conversation between him and General Mkhwanazi. What is your take on that?
Now, what I said, and also inclusive of the correction of the hitch that happened in the other room, on the second, when they started talking between them, General Mkhwanazi and Nkabinde, they talked about the things that I indicated, and that included on the first day that what I regarded as a threat, that if Minister Mchunu believes that he is clean, he should proceed with this. That was said on the first day. But on the 5th, when they spoke on the 3rd and 4th, and then they spoke on the 5th. Then that is when the recording started. Now, when they start the recording, they acknowledge what they had discussed on the 2nd, as you heard the other time. That needed to be clarified. Yes, they did speak about a supposedly screenshot conversation between them, but they themselves say they didn't know how that came about, but it had omission of things that they thought anyone who would have recorded them would have included them, but excluded some of those things. So you say you are concerned about that. We'll leave it to them and their recording. I was merely sharing the recording on my side.
Okay, you say part of what would have made you interested for a recording of conversations is the fact that you got briefed by the chief of staff that General Mkhwanazi is very angry and making threats. So you advised the chief of staff that it would actually be adequate that from now on you record the conversation. So you brought evidence in a form of an audio that part of the threats that you think that are being said in the audio is that someone says if you are clean, you can proceed and all those things. But I don't know what other honorable members would have heard in the audio, but what I heard in the audio was actually the sentiments of your chief of staff, Mr. Nkabinde, saying those things of being clean, not clean, and all those things. Did you finally get the part that which you wanted us to hear so that we are able to understand better your argument in regard to this. You'll recall that even Honorable Malema did advise that when you come back today, you must actually direct us exactly where we must go, so that we understand your argument better.
The part that I was interested in was where such a statement was being made between them and then recorded. Now, it's only in reference, it turns out, because that part was said before they started recording. But it is referred to in the conversation on the 5th and acknowledged by them when they remind each other that whoever would have screenshot them when they were discussing would not have missed out on this part and that part. For instance, on the first part where there was talk of fight back, where there was talk of if the minister is clean. That conversation had not been or was not recorded, and I thought part thereof was actually recorded. That's why I brought it here. But it turns out that it is only in reference. So my answer to you is that I thought that that had been recorded. It turns out it had not been recorded. It just comes as a reference, rather.
Okay. Does the minister understand that as things stands, given that the response, the ad hoc committee doesn't have the evidence of threats as things stands now?
The ad hoc committee has a reference as it stands now, and I would advise that if it pleases the ad hoc committee, you can get Mr. Nkabinde to come and say it for himself. So it shouldn't just be, just because the recording, the actual recording is only in reference, and therefore that's the end of the game. It's not the end. And Nkabinde is alive, he can be asked to come so that he says it himself, if you so wish.
He's alive and kicking.
He's alive and kicking, just like...
No, it's fine.
Honorable Nhlanhla,
Yes, Chair.
you know, this morning when we started, from this table, we made an announcement to members of the ad hoc committee that our support team followed up with the minister and his team to forward the extract that he wanted us to play on that day. And as at the time of resumption of proceedings this morning, that extract has not been forwarded to us. So it is not us. It was him who said it last week on Friday, that he wanted us to hear that extract and it was not there in the recording. And you are very right that when we rose, Honorable Malema said, please make sure that whatever piece of information you have you want to bring us, make it available. So it has not been made available, Honorable Minister. And the question that the Honorable Member is asking, he is justified to say that as it stands now, the ad hoc committee doesn't have that extract, which you promised that it will be made available.
Yes, Chair, and I give a reason that I was under an impression that it had been recorded when the recording of their conversation had started, and it turns out that it had not started on the first day when that was mentioned. It only started on the 5th day.
Yeah.
Yes.
I take the explanation, but the fact remains, as we proceed now, the extract is not here before us.
It is not here before us as intended, except to add that it is in reference, only in reference.
Yeah. We agree. If we use the primary and the secondary, we will say the primary is not here.
I would
Is that so?
agree.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, there is a hand.
Honorable Malema.
I'm on the same point. The minister, because you are putting it as if we should have the recording. The minister does not have a recording. He told us he's got a recording and he wants us to play. That's number one. Number two, he wanted us to listen to something he never listened to himself. Because it's not there. And that's what you should be asking the minister. Not that where we are now, we don't have a recording. That recording doesn't exist. Let's agree there. That there was no such a recording where Mkhwanazi was threatening the minister. And that's why I was interested that he must bring that thing here, because we want to hear for real if minister was threatened. Minister comes, that thing is not here, and then we speak in different languages. We must put it on record that the minister doesn't have that recording, and therefore that recording doesn't exist.
You are absolutely correct, Honorable Member. And that is how we are proceeding. That is understood, Honorable Minister. We are proceeding from that premise that the evidence that you promised has not been presented before the ad hoc committee.
Again, yes, I've said so.
Thank you so much. Honorable Nhlanhla, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I think both yourself, Chair, and Honorable Malema agree with me that as things stand now, we don't have evidence relating to threats leveled against the minister. I think let's pass the minister and go to your directive of the 31st of December 2024. There is an underlined word there that says immediately. And we discussed this thing with
the word?
Immediately.
Okay.
And we discussed this thing with a lot of witnesses, so as to get what would have been their understanding of immediately. I remember General Spear said, immediately does not mean immediately now. We were left confused, all of us. So you say correctly so that part of what is contained in your directive is the fact that there must be a preliminary report on the 20th of January 2025 from the 31st. So your immediate now means that 20 days. Was that the intention of the immediate? The immediately.
Most of let me just go straight to your question. That immediate has a context, and that context is contained in the letter of directives. There's no way you can make a mistake out of it. It's contextualized. And the words that decisively form the context thereof is the call or the directive inclusive of the directive to bring or to refer that there would be a preliminary report. In fact, it was saying you will bring the preliminary report on the 20th. So that immediate, if you remove preliminary report, you remove it, and you remove what was also part of the directive in the form of the UNESCO, then immediate takes another context. But if you bring in those two, bring in a context that although it was immediate, but there was a meeting that was coming with what? A preliminary report indicating clearly that you were not talking about something to be switched off, and that's the end of the day, you go and sleep. There was to be a preliminary report. There was to be a UNESCO report. Then that is the context, concretely, without any mistake.
Okay, so indeed, that immediate did not mean immediately. Do you agree with me that PKTT is born of the president's interventions to scale down political killings?
Yes, that was a political intervention by the president.
Is it your evidence that, given that, you found it adequate not to consult the president prior the decision was taken?
I would not agree with you exactly on that because it was pitched at ministerial level via the interministerial level, which is no longer obtaining in the 7th administration. It was not pitched at presidential level. It was pitched at ministerial level via the interministerial, via the minister who was chairing, but where there was interministerial, and there is no longer any ministerial. Okay. So I won't agree with you.
Okay, let me rephrase my question, Minister. Was President Cyril Ramaphosa informed or briefed or consulted prior the taking of the decision to dissolve the political killings task team?
You swallow a lot of words such that I don't hear.
It might be the mic. I'm saying, let me rephrase it. Was President Cyril Ramaphosa, as a person whose intervention as a result of the PKTT establishment, consulted, informed, or briefed about the intended dissolution prior the decision was taken?
No.
He was not consulted. Okay. The president also established the interministerial committee, which you say in the 7th administration there is no interministerial committee. Maybe if you can brief us, when was it dissolved by the president, who appointed it? When were the closing reports being submitted, so that we better understand that if there were terms of reference, perhaps that guide it not to surpass the 6th administration. Has there been such?
What's the question?
I'm saying the question is, you say the interministerial committee is non-existent in the 7th administration. So I'm saying, did the person who appointed the interministerial committee dissolve the interministerial committee? 2, when were the closing reports of the IMC submitted to the president so as to seal the closing of the IMC? 3, were there terms of reference that say the interministerial committee only exists in the 6th administration?
Yeah, Honorable Nhlanhla, you must not drown my witness with a bombardment of questions. May you please take your
one by one, Chair.
Your questions one by one.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So apologies, Mkhwanazi.
No, I understand all of it.
Okay, no, that's fine. He says he can take it in that fashion, Chair.
Just saying, go easy. You have time. I mean.
Okay, Chair.
My statement, that is my affidavit, only refers to the 7th administration not having an interministerial committee on the National Political Killings Task Team that was established in 2018 to focus in the main KZN. It doesn't go beyond that to say there was a report, there was closure of the report, and this is the report. It only makes reference that when I got appointed in the 7th administration as Minister of Police, there is no interministerial committee.
Is it the evidence of the minister that only the PKTT was carried over from the 6th administration to the 7th administration, not the IMC? Because the establishment of the PKTT was in the 6th administration as well. So it was carried over to the 7th administration. So are you saying now, Minister, that only the PKTT was carried over to another administration, but not the IMC?
I'm not saying so. That's why I indicate that it worries me to a point where I believe that there's something illegal about PKTT as it stands now, because it was renewed or extended annually up to 2022. So that is the state of my mind as I talk to you and now, that the PKTT was established and got extended annually, and the interministerial doesn't exist in the 7th administration.
Okay. In fact, it was established in the 5th administration, 2018. The 6th administration started in 2019. Then the 7th administration started in 2024. So it was carried over 3 successive terms. Now, that's why we don't understand it when the minister says, then therefore the interministerial committee is non-existent. But it's fine. Let's pass that part. What then becomes the status of the political killing system now?
Currently. Well, that's the question that I would rather not respond to, because I'm not in office. I'm on leave, as you're aware.
Chair, we have had witnesses who testified differently on the status of the PKTT in respect of the letter written by the minister. Because the reason we're talking about the status of the PKTT is on the basis of the letter written by the minister. Now, from the 31st of December 2024 to the 20th of January, where a report was supposed to have been submitted, 2 months later when you were taken to leave, are you saying you are unable to tell this committee that the status of the PKTT now is this and that? Because the evidence by General Mkhwanazi is that the PKTT is alive and kicking. The evidence by General Masemola is that the PKTT is alive and kicking. The evidence by Sibiya is that the PKTT is operating illegally somewhere in a corner.
Yeah, Sibiya is also General Sibiya.
General Sibiya, yes, sorry, Chair. The evidence from General Sibiya is that PKTT has got a very questionable status now. And all these testimonies, Minister, come from the letter authored by you on the 31st of December. So we thought it is important that we get an information to ask from the author of the letter what then becomes the status of the PKTT now, because we are receiving contradicting statements about it.
I understand. I wrote the directives. The directives were responded to by the National Commissioner, in the main, proposing or suggesting that it should be on the winding up should be on a phased approach. And it details that phased approach in a number of platforms, including on the 5th, including on the 6th. And then the process of winding out is then underway. While it is under discussion, as would have been intended by the preliminary report and the report at UNESCO, then there's a press briefing on the 6th, and then there's a commission as we speak. So what is there at the moment?
I can't see the witness. You can proceed with them.
What is there at the moment in terms of my response to you is that there is a process of a discussion which has not been completed while PKTT continues to operate.
Okay, that answer is quite satisfying. Now, Section 206, subsection 1 of the Constitution accords you powers in respect of the service. And it gives us two major obligations that you have. The first of which is being responsible for the policing policy. The second of which is being responsible for policing needs. So, would you say the directives of the 31st qualify to be policing policy, or they are just policing needs?
Or they qualify to be what? Second one?
Policing needs. Section 206 speaks about policing policy and policing needs. So does it qualify as a policing policy or a policing needs?
The directives are linked to Section 207(2) because it talks about policing policy. And of course in 6 there's also policing needs, but in 207(2) there's also the issue of directives. In other words, the Constitution talks about policing policy, but it talks about directives as well. Stand on their own as part of the duties or powers, if you like, of a minister. And therefore, it was part of the powers that can be exercised by a minister while in office. Not necessarily falling within policy or policing needs, because all of them are written on their own. Policing policy is on its own. Policing needs of a province on its own, and then directives on their own.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my understanding.
So the letter is written on the spirit of 2072, not 2061.
No, but I would say in practice you can't then separate to a point of creating Chinese walls on policing policy and needs of a province. Neither can you build a Chinese wall between the two and the directives. In operationally, they are not necessarily mutually exclusive, as it were.
Okay, but I'm asking because also 206(1)
Yes.
actually requires you to consult provinces.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why I was asking.
Yes.
You also, as part of your evidence, presented to that committee a new organogram that is meant to restructure the organizational design, architecture, and all those things. When was it adopted?
It was adopted in 2019.
It was adopted in 2019, not in 2025.
Pardon?
Not in 2025.
It was adopted in 2019. It was adopted in 2024.
2024.
When I was already in office, when I started looking at the organogram. So in other words, 2024 was, in broad terms, an endorsement of the work that had been done, but it now included the need to implement. But in the main, it was adopted twice.
Okay. So the the restructuring of the task teams, including the PKTT, stems from the adopted organogram
of 2019.
of 2019. Do task teams really or normally get to be part of an organizational structure, or they are just temporal arrangement?
Not at all. They are temporal arrangements. And in the case of National Political Killings Task Team, it's regarded as a task team, which is also referred to as a project. It's time-bound. That's why after 6 months of its existence, it was assessed and it was extended. And then extended up until 2022. It's because it is understood and actually a practice. The task teams are task-orientated. In other words, they are created for a particular task, and there's time. And in this instance, even though it was a budget, it was a project. There's not dedicated a budget, as it were. It takes from the budget that is already allocated, and you allocate it for that particular period and for those activities. Yes, it was like that.
So they are naturally not part of an organizational structure because they are project-based.
Not part of the organizational structure.
Then why does the minister use the adopted organogram as a basis for the dissolution of a task team that does not form part of that organizational structure?
It is precisely because when the structure was reviewed, it was reviewed with conscious understanding that you are entering an era of specialized units in SAPS to make sure that you are able to run an effective policing or effective policing in South Africa. You now need specialized units. Now, when they created those specialized units, they were framed or designed to perform all the duties that the task team was now operating to deal with what was emerging in KZN in particular. So inevitably, once the structure was fully operational, the structure was designed to take all those duties, and it was done consciously. It was not incidental. That's why you create murder and robbery. That's why in the report of the National Commissioner on the 5th and on the 6th, it is specifically mentioned that once the National Political Killings Task Team has been phased out, their duties would be specifically taken over by these units that have now been created. So that is where the correlation means. So if you keep it, you keep National Political Killings Task Team, when this structure is now fully functional, as was intended and also intended, now in 2024, signed in 2025, you will be doing more than duplication. And the problem that you are creating is the use of resources, which doesn't take into consideration that you're overstretched, but you have challenges for which you need a lot of money. You rather optimize on the money that you have and then be effective on the ground. That is the intention. That's where the correlation is.
Okay. In your directives of the 31st, amongst other reasons why you decided for the dissolution of the PKTT is that you do not think that it adds value anymore. we've already had 3 witnesses here in the ad hoc committee. The first was General Mkhwanazi. He has got a complete different view from that sentiment in your letter. The second one was General Semula. He also has testified and has a complete different view from what you have averred in your letter. The third one was General Spear. General Spear actually was the one who explained more to us that these are now the political killings trends in South Africa, and they have since decreased vehemently because of the work of the political killings task team. The fourth one, who disagrees with your government, is President Cyril Ramaphosa. He's just had a public commentary on TV where we were speaking about the PKTT and the work it did in reducing the political killings in South Africa. So I'm mentioning these 4 people because they've got a different understanding of what you say adding value in your letter. Now I want to check if the minister from appointment has been able to at least summon a progress report in respect of the work of the political killings task team, so that what informs the decision of the minister is actually the progress report that the minister would have actually received from the officials of the department, whoever is obliged to do that.
The issue of, if you look at the report that was, or the comments that were made by CFO in if this is the result. Now, I don't think you should stress this thing any far or any further, other than what it is.